Wait. No. I want my health.
I love cutting out the BS now.
I promise I won't do anything bad again.
I can either be bitter or I can be better.
And that is something you'll never master.
Here I drag Bryce into a casino.
You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm Brian Call with co-host Brad Hunt, and today's episode is, again, with my good friends Bryce Bishop and David Brinker. Bryce is the owner and founder of Peaks Equipment, and Brinker spent many years working at Sitka Gear and now supports the work of Peaks and other similar outdoor companies. But this episode is less about business and gear and more about life. Bryce Bishop lost his wife to cancer not long ago, and we talk a bit about the effect that such hardships have on our lives. We talk about the importance of surrounding yourself by good men who are genuinely excited by your success, and we talk about feeling the hand of providence in our lives. This is a very worthwhile episode. I hope it gets you thinking and encourages you to take nothing for granted, especially your time and your loved ones. For those who are interested, we have a huge giveaway going on right now. It's the Gritty Stole Christmas giveaway. You can win everything you need for a backcountry hunt, the whole package, worth over $8,000. Just shop at Peaks Equipment between now and December 19th at midnight, and you'll be entered to win. Thanks, everybody. Now let's get to the show. Well, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I've got Brad Hunt here with me. We've got Bryce Bishop, who is the owner-founder of Peaks Equipment. We got David Brinker here. We're up here in Bozeman, Montana today in the Peaks building. I think humility is utterly impossible in the absence of gratitude. Like, I almost interchange gratitude with humility as the same exact thing, almost. Because if you're truly grateful and you're always seeking, like you're always great, like for all the things, it's really hard to not be humble.
Yeah.
They interlock.
Well, and I think, I don't know. I'm a religious person, so are you guys. I think the inability to acknowledge that the blessings that you have, whatever they are in life, come from a higher authority, a higher power, is when the people get into trouble, right? It's, if you can always acknowledge that what you've received and the things that you've been able to do and accomplish and achieve come from a God who wants to bless you, and you can acknowledge that, it, like you said, that's where that gratitude comes in. It's just being able to acknowledge that it's not of your own doing a lot of times. It's a higher power that's allowed you to be presented opportunities or put you in that position or whatever it is.
Which I think is the definition of humility right there.
Yeah.
It's that belief and acceptance that, you're not doing this all on your own.
Yeah.
And
I think God puts you, in positions where it's, Dave came into my life. You came into my life. Brad came into my life. Like, those aren't, we just had
a weird thing.
We just had a crazy connection last night that I'm like, there's no way that's a coincidence.
Okay, folks, if you like the show and you want to support us and you're in the market for a brand new sleeping bag, check out the Peaks Solace 15. We spent a lot of years designing that sleeping bag in partnership with Peaks Equipment. The Peaks sleeping bag has so many innovative features. The old backpacker saying that 2 is 1 and 1 is none is never more true. And this sleeping bag is so versatile. It can be a quilt. It can be a jacket. It's got armholes. It's a 3-way zipper. It regulates temperature really well. It's got the hood. It's pretty remarkable. Go check it out. Use the code GRITTY and you'll save. And it helps us keep doing what we do. Now, let's get back to the show. It's so strange. Like, it turns out that my wife, her sister was like best friends with your wife
Before she and I got married.
And
she sang at our wedding. Last night you go, did you know my sister-in-law sang at your wedding? And I'm like, I'm like, who are you talking to?
I wish I could have been recording when Brian said her name and Bryce was like,
what?
I just happened to look over at that moment, and I've never seen Bryce's face like that before.
No, it was priceless.
Well, when I heard it, I was like,
No way. No way.
And to find out that
27 years ago.
Bryce is connected to my family.
That's crazy.
Like closely, not like a little bit. And my family's connected to him. And here we are 27 years later, having a conversation with, my sister-in-law and her husband. And she's like, what? And it's so funny too, because
that was wild.
We're like working so much together.
Yeah.
And
we've never
knew.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you wonder, like, how is it that, I was just thinking about last night, how is it that you're like almost like cosmically pulled into my life and me yours, whether it be through these families and these connections that are completely, I don't know.
Think about the real odds of this happening. Like that's where I just am like, there's no way that that's a coincidence. Yeah. You can't convince me otherwise.
It's pretty crazy. I will say that from the outside in. But
I'll say this too. Dave, is from the day that that I met Bryce and through like Bass Ham saying, hey, you need to hit this guy up and stuff. And from the very start, there's things in life, like I felt like I was supposed to, sounds off, I know, like boo-woo and stuff, but I felt like I was supposed to start a podcast and I was supposed to go out and do these. I felt like when I met Ryan Lampers that I was supposed to be his friend. I knew Ryan for 3 years before we were really friends. Mm-hmm. And I just kept going back to Ryan over and over, and him to me. It felt like almost some sort of spiritual connection that was before. And the same I felt with Bryce. And it was like we were destined in a way. Same with Ryan. I felt destined. And then with Brad. And I felt the same thing with you, Dave. From the moment we connected, you sang in my little podcast at the ATA show.
Legendary.
Yeah.
And then from there, subsequent things happened. And I felt a real connection. And Dave was there for me in some tight spots.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's weird? Like that ties back to what I was trying to say. When you really get back to who you are, I believe the God, the universe leads you into those scenarios that you're talking about. Here's the problem. And this is why a lot of people get tripped up. It's oftentimes not how you envisioned it.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's like, well, that's not what perfect example in my life. I always thought I wanted to marry a blonde, blue-eyed, I had this whole vision.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Pretty common, right?
Yeah, yeah. I envisioned a dark brown-haired brunette.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
Like I've
always loved the blonde.
I have quotes where I was like, I'm not getting married till I'm 30. Like I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want a rodeo, I want to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And gosh, I'd probably be in a terrible place in this world if I wouldn't have met my wife at 21 years old.
And even down to like more like not as important examples. I met just to end cap that. When I met my wife, I'm like, whoa, I'm attracted to a type of girl I've never been attracted. Yeah. And it was like so easy to date her. I'd never experienced anything like that. We didn't fight for like a year. I was actually at the point where like, am I bored or is this easy?
Yeah.
Or is it both? Or is it just amazing? I don't know. I've never not had drama.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, different story. But down to like more micro examples to where like last year's hunting season, almost nothing went right for me. Like starting with a premium antelope tag I drew, to my unit starting on fire the night before the season, tag getting canceled, to choosing a unit that when I got there, it was just so overrun with people and no elk in it. I thought I made a huge mistake, to having a bit of a health crisis in the middle of it that scared the hell out of me. But the end results of the season, now that I look back, were amazing.
Yeah.
That elk hunt that was like one of the worst struggle fests I've had in at least several years. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't. Like when I walked up on that bull, I'm like, you son of a gun. Like that sucked, but now it's like amazing. It's like psychedelic. This is like what I live for.
Right.
But point being, now that I look back at the season, many of the things that happened I wouldn't have chose. The blacktail that I killed was because I had to make the hard call to Brian. I was supposed to go with Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to go aoudad hunting with those guys in Texas. And I was in the middle of this really bad moment, dark moment. I was struggling. And I'm just like, dude, guys, I can't go. I'm not in a good place. I need to stay home and I need to connect with my family and just have a moment here. But just one morning I woke up. I didn't even feel like hunting or anything. I was like kind of depressed. I'm like, I'm going to go blacktail hunting. I haven't sat in my stand. My buck was there a couple days ago. Who knows? Went out and sat in my stand for like an hour. Buck of my dreams walks by. I shoot it perfectly. Get to have my boys, my wife, and my dad come out blood trail it with me and walk up on it and have that moment with like 3 generations of Brinker boys. Long story short, I look back on the season now and I'm like, okay, that's why. Like I didn't understand it at all. Like it was a really frustrating season.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, that was actually a pretty amazing season.
Right.
And I couldn't have, as much as you try to plan your hunting season out, like I'm already thinking about it, like
or life.
It's like this morning, I'm going to try to get an Idaho tag, get online. I'm 34,833. Well, last night when I went to bed, I was dreaming of these places I've always wanted to go in Idaho. Now I'm like, I ain't going to Idaho. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, like trusting in the process, but I don't think you can be happy with the outcome if you truly can't be happy with yourself, and know that I did what I did because I was just myself and I pursued these things and I allowed the process to play it out. It wasn't perfectly planned. The gritty process was not perfect. It was very messy. The peaks process has been and will be messy.
Yeah.
The Sitka process was super messy, probably still is.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just life. But if you can be happy and grateful for who you are and be comfortable with it, I think you'll have the most fruitful experience. That's what it's taken me 44 years to.
Yeah.
It's like when
my wife got cancer, I really tapped into that. The only thing that seemed to help during the dark times was the gratitude that I had that she was in my life and that I had her at all, and that we had these kids, and that and I realized like I was letting so much of the potential joy in life be swallowed up in bitterness. And when I stopped focusing on what I didn't have and I put all my focus on what I did have and being grateful for it, it made all the pain just subside.
Well, and as you guys know the best, those situations, those life and death situations, especially health crises, really, you have no choice. You are going to be you are going to be grinded down to what matters most to you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in perfect resolution to you. You're like, oh, crap.
Well,
these 3 things are actually, my life's actually pretty simple.
Yeah.
I want these 3 things or 4 things or 5 things, and that's it. Everything else is BS. It's like bonus stuff. Like it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Some of it's not. Some of it's actually total BS. It's like a total waste of time. And the older you get and the more of these crises that you face. And
I love cutting out the BS now.
Like
you're like, it's real distilled.
Yeah.
I got a few things.
It makes it a lot easier, and you had the most like enhanced version of that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But even if this sounds really bad, but if you have the unfortunate opportunity to go through something that's like life or death, like whether that's a health crisis yourself or with someone you love, which we all will inevitably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It brings into focus stuff, but it gives you this opportunity. It's a unfortunate opportunity, but it's still an opportunity to go, okay, I got to remember this. It makes you realize I'm truly just this. I see myself now. I see what's important. How do I not lose focus of this? And then if you can just build off that, your life, you will create that cool business, or you will create these opportunities.
There's no question. I would never have done Gritty if Suzanne hadn't gone through.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have. I was so content with what I had. And after she got sick, I'm like, what am I doing? There's a whole life to live. There's all these adventures to go on, to people to see and things to experience. And I'm like, but I wouldn't have, because I would have stuck with the 9 to 5.
Yeah. Going through what I've been through in the last year, like I think back on that and I would never wish that upon anyone. But at the same time, I'm like, I wish every single person could experience it because of what it does to you and the perspective that it changes and the outcome that it has on who you become as a person and how you set your priorities and what becomes important to you and not important to you anymore. It's, I don't know, trials and struggles refine us in a way that nothing else.
Well, I sit back and like from a 30,000 foot view of the men I've surrounded myself with, you, Lampers, Livesay, my dad, whatever. As I look back, I'm like, okay, what is it about these men that draws me to be around them and to be better? And I'm like, every one of them has gone through something that's like a bow. For that arrow to go 100 yards down, it's got to be pulled backwards. Yeah. You know, so everybody's been pulled backwards and then slingshotted forward and become a better person.
Yeah.
And that's, you know,
I hate those moments. And unfortunately, I have a brain that goes through those moments. My latest one is I was convinced I had symptoms of ALS, which is for those that don't know what it is, it's like exactly what people like us wouldn't want.
Right.
Losing the ability to move your body and basically dying a slow death, not so painful, but a really slow death. And I had these symptoms that were very congruent to it. And I had to go through, I don't know, it had to have been close to 10 different doctors to come to the determination that I didn't have something scary like that. Now, in fairness to my doctors, they kind of knew in the beginning that it probably wasn't, but you still got to go through this process.
You do.
And even though I kind of believed them, I'm like, but what if I did?
Yeah.
Because even today, I still have the same symptoms. It doesn't matter what they are. The point is moments like that where like, okay, hold on just 1 second. What? Everything I do revolves around the movement of my body that I love.
Yeah.
Right? Spending time with my kids, playing my guitar, hunting, jujitsu, all these things. If I lose the movement of my body, that's like if I were to define hell for me. Right? And so I went down a real psychedelic rabbit hole of going, oh my, wait, no, I want my health. I'm good. I promise I won't ever do anything bad again. I just want to move my legs and my arms and I don't want to go through this. Like what is going on? And it sucks, especially if you're like me, who's already has to manage anxiety. If you're someone who's like kind of cold blooded and calm, like you'd have probably been like, I probably don't have it.
Yeah. And
moved on.
Yeah, sure.
But my point is like, when I come out of stuff like this, and that's happened 2 or 3 times maybe in my life where I've had health crises where I was really scared.
Yep.
It always recenters me and re-energizes me to go, okay, now that I got my health, and I had it all along, but now I know for sure.
I'm doing these
things, and I'm going to do them really well, and I'm going to do X, Y, Z, ABC. It cuts out the BS.
I remember after, Suzanne's lost most of her hair and, but she had finished and it looked like the prognosis was all good. Cancer seemed to be gone. You don't really know for a while though. Yeah. And here I am at this crossroads of life. And before she got sick, I had gone and done a little film school stuff with the Born and Raised crew and some other friends in Phelps. And I'd toyed around with it and, and I'd sort of been like, I'll just teeter and play around with this. Then she got sick. So I was kind of in the midst of this whole idea of maybe doing a podcast, maybe doing hunt films, but it was just a side gig.
Yeah.
And within a few months of her finishing chemo and her being a little healthier, I was able to like really do the podcast for fun. It was all for fun. This is funsies. And 6 months in or so of really giving it a go, it was a viable job. And I was like, I went to her and I had no motivation anymore to go to 9 to 5. I just couldn't want it at all. Everything I had wanted before she had cancer had been obliterated, and everything I wanted to do with my time was completely different. And so I went to her and I said, what do you think if I just quit my job and did the podcast thing? And she was, because she had gone through the cancer, she was like, oh yes, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Whether you make a dime or not.
Right.
And at that point I was like, we both had decided that the things that really matter were the adventure, taking the chances, doing things you thought was meaningful. And all of a sudden I did. I'm like a whole new career, a whole new life, a whole new direction with gusto, without looking back, without fear. Just like, well, there was some fear, but I was like, but overall it was pretty well managed. And it turned out to be, that trial turned out to be a gift, you know?
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
It's so weird. It's like, it's one of the weird things. Maybe we'll never understand this, but it's like sometimes the best gifts are the hardest to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the ones you envision. Like you're waiting for like a perfect sign to go do the thing that you want. It's got to be this perfect moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the God, the universe, whatever, just knocks you on your ass and goes, no, dude, what you need is just to realize that, be grateful for what you have and just get your focus back and just do things. Because at the end of the day, when you go through a health moment, when you see your family member go through a health moment, you realize just health alone is the biggest blessing ever.
Yeah.
Just being able to walk in here sounds stupid to us.
No, I know.
No.
But like, I know in moments it does to me. It's like, what do you mean? I can always do this.
Okay, I got a deep question for you guys. And I was driving.
How deep?
This is deep.
We can't
I
go
was
too deep.
I was driving the other day, and it was like, obviously, we don't know when our time is done on this earth.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I'm being a good person, I'm following my faith, I'm being a good husband, good father, whatever. Am I okay to leave this earth right now if it's the time? And I literally like sat for 15 minutes and stopped and was like, yeah, I am actually. If it's my time, I'm good. So I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I think about that stuff all the
100%.
time.
But it was like,
Yeah.
it hit me so hard.
You have to think about stuff like that.
It hit me so hard. And I was like, yeah, I do actually. Like, I feel like I'm being the best that I can possibly be.
My only caveat to that is that, and none of us do it well enough, but you need to make sure that those you leave behind are going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. So I've taken a lot of steps over the last year to make sure that if something were to happen to me, I got hit by a bus today, right? Like that those that are left behind are going to be okay. And I think once you can get to that point, your loved ones are going to be fine. Then you can start living the life that you're truly meant to live. And, come what may, if you go, I mean, I told my kids, I said, look, when Austin's out of the house, you might see me start to do some really reckless crap because I just want to go live life and be adventurous, and you guys are going to be taken care of if something happens. And I just want to be able to be fulfilled and do adventures with them too or whatever. But I just want to live that type of a life where I know that no matter what happens, it's okay. And
you personally got to live.
Yeah. You were saying earlier, and it reminds me of that song by NF on The Search, where he says, the sales can rise, doesn't mean much though when your health declines. See, we've all got something. And then he goes on, and I thought about that, none of it matters when your loved one is sick and dying, or when you've lost your ability to function. How much people pay to try to live that's also why carnivore diet isn't so hard for me, because I'm sitting there going, it's really not, because I look at it and go, oh, it's a small sacrifice to pay that I didn't pound an ice cream and cobbler last night, but my health is so good. And so it's like, it's not, I love that. I love the wellness. And you think of all the wealthy people in the world spending millions of dollars to try to stay young, going and getting like injections in their body and getting like stem cells and whatever. And it's like, what 65-year-old dude who ate McDonald's his whole life wouldn't give his entire fortune away to have eaten well his whole life, so that at 65 he's still thriving?
Yeah. I watched a thing on, I don't know, it was a reel or whatever on Instagram the other day, and the guy said, there's like this couple that he was like interviewing or something, and he said, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, but I offered you $1 million today.
Yeah.
It was
$10 million.
$10 million, something like that. It was like, would you take it or whatever? Like if you got the money, you knew you were going to die tomorrow.
Yeah, he gave the money first.
Right.
He said, hey, would you take the $10 million, whatever? And every one of them were like, oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Will that $10 million help you out?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, but you die tomorrow.
Yeah. And then
They all were like,
I go, no, I wouldn't.
no.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Right.
that's how precious and what a gift our health and our bodies
Dude,
are.
it's
Right? There's no amount of money in the world.
At the same time, I've thought about this a lot because you don't get to choose. You know,
No.
life is life, and
Yeah.
I put faith in a higher being, and I've thought about like, what if I flipped out of the side by side because Brad drove recklessly, and then I broke my neck,
Somebody
And then
has flipped a side by side.
and then I was paralyzed from the neck down. Could I find purpose?
Yeah.
Could I still find meaning in life?
Yeah.
And I put forth always like, whatever limitations I feel like I'm ever going to have in life, I've committed. I'll never quit trying to find some meaning or purpose within it.
so
Yeah.
when I was going through this last moment, Loophole launched a film. I don't know if you guys saw this. And gosh, I'm going to forget his name. We've been texting ever since, but it's a gentleman who was diagnosed with MS here.
Mhm. Yeah, I watched
Oh,
it.
yeah.
To, you know, and he had a bunch of Wyoming points. And he's like, well, I better burn those because I don't know what the next 10 years looks like.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's a slow disease. And when I saw that come out, because there was a couple options of things that I might have. MS was one of them.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I got to call this guy. So I called him, and forgive me, dude, for forgetting your first name. I'm horrible with names, but he's such a cool dude. I talked to him, his girlfriend. Long story short, I came off that phone. Dude, he's like, I'm great. I'm like, how are you? Like, he's like, I'm great. I just got done working out, shoot my bow. I'm going to go hunt a whitetail later. I'm doing great. How are you? I'm like, I'm not doing great. I'm scared I might have what you know.
Yeah.
And I walked away from that phone call going, wait a second. Here's a guy that actually has a actual diagnosis.
Oh, Cody Austin.
Cody Austin, such a good dude, really good guy. He has a real diagnosis.
Mhm.
I have a hypothetical, and he's a total piece. He's like, I'm good, dude. He's like, I'm just going to manage it and do my best. Like 2 days later, I'm at a football game watching my kid play football, and I'm sitting against the fence, and I'm having the same symptoms. Like, God, what is wrong with me? Stressing out. And I look down, and there's this lady laughing, having the greatest time, clapping, got no hair. And I'm like, obviously going through cancer treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why is she so happy? How could she be so happy?
Yeah.
She has an obvious real diagnosis, and she's like in the midst of like living or dying potentially. And then the last thing that happened to me, I came across the video of Toby Keith just before he died.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys ever saw this.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty moving video. He's like, look, here's the deal. He's like, the person that's dying is like, you're at peace. Like, I'm more worried about my kids.
He had a good ride.
Yeah. He's like,
What a
look,
blast
I
to
have
get
nothing to
edition.
complain about. Right.
Yeah.
Point being, I totally agree with you. You will find, if you have the will, you will find a way to make it. My mom told me when we were going through this, she goes, well, if they give you that diagnosis, like, yes, it'll suck. We're in this together. But like, she's like, but you'll handle it nobly. You'll find a way to use it to help other people. And I go, you're probably right. I probably would, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But in the moment, it's hard to think that way. But the point is, and then you go to the sheep show and I see, what is that guy's name? The guy that Cole Kramer carried up the mountain, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah. That was cool.
Dude, what an inspiring dude.
Right.
He's got no arms or legs.
So happy and grateful and
It's crazy.
you know, or excuse me, he has no legs. And tremendous purpose, very inspiring person.
that's what I told myself, you know, and when my wife had when she was finishing up, I recognized that my sort of bitterness at one stage and the fact that I was you know, her health could never be the same even if she gets through all this, you know, and all that. And she gets secondary cancer 5 years later and dilate. Like a lot of things just pissed me off. Okay. Like about the whole situation.
Right.
And I can remember like going, you know, there's so much for me as a person to be so grateful for. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Talk about an idyllic, blessed life. It's absurd. And so for me to be bitter about this, it was like, it just seems so wrong, so selfish, so entitled in a way.
Yeah.
And we don't get that in life. Like we're here to grow and be challenged. I truly believe that. But then what even then, chastising myself, I could still have a pity party. But when it came to my kids, I have 3 beautiful daughters.
Right.
And I found like, okay, well, I can't stop being an ass for myself, but I can for them.
Yeah.
And if I found strength in serving my children, because I thought to myself, my bitterness, resentment, anger that I'm struggling with right now, it's like robbing my kids of their dad, of the man I could be. And that's not okay. They need me, and they need the good version of me, the best version of me.
Yeah.
And that means like, I got to change. I got to be grateful and accept some things and be just filled with love for the life I do have. And then I could also find purpose in that, because I could say, you know, I care about my kids so much, and there's a chance to serve them by being this better person who isn't embittered by this experience and who is deeply grateful for the chance to be here. And then I find purpose in trying to be, I've always found purpose in trying to be a better person than tomorrow than I was before. And I think there is deep purpose in striving to be a morally good person. And that is something you'll never master. So there's always a job to do. Hey everybody, if you like the show and you want to support us, head on over to Mountain Ops. If you're in need of a new merino hoodie, or you want some workout clothes, or you just want a little pick-me-up. I like the Mountain Ops Ignite, especially like the pink lemonade flavor. It's a good one. I recommend that. Head on over to Mountain Ops, use the code GRIDDY. You're going to save, and it's going to help us keep bringing you the show. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, Jeff Helm. So when Cindy died, I mean, I was really blessed to have a lot of people who would have family members, relative, whatever, go through similar experiences. He lost his brother to the same cancer that Cindy had. And
what a wild connection.
I know. Another one, right? Not a coincidence.
Because it's not a very common cancer.
Right. And so, you know, he and his brother were like super tight. And when his brother died, it really rocked him. And he got to the point where he was really struggling with that bitterness, right? And he came, I don't know how, I can't remember, but he came to that same realization that you were just talking about. He finally said to himself, I can either be bitter or I can be better. And that flipped the switch for him. And he just, from that day forward, he was just striving always to be a better person. And, you know, I needed that. Obviously, I had just gone through hell. And
yeah, what a perfect moment to meet Jeff.
I know. Dude, I just look at so many of these connections and go back, and I'm like,
that's crazy.
How is this possible? And again, I just don't believe they're coincidences.
This could be a distorted version of history, but I think when Jeff came and Roosevelt hunted with me, that was kind of in the early stages of what Cindy was going through. And I remember him asking me, how's Bryce doing? I heard he might be. And I said, you know, it's tough. And he goes, well, do you think he'd mind if I called him? Because I've kind of been through this before. I'm like, I'm sure he'd love it. I mean, anything else, right? That connection is, even though it's a sucky connection.
Well, and I think I just go back. I'm like,
connection.
I randomly, Brinker drags me into a casino in Reno.
Is that when you actually met him?
Yeah, it was the first time I met him.
Here I dragged Bryce into a casino to a roulette table, and he makes it. We must have gambled for 2 hours.
I'm just standing there watching. I'm like, I don't
you
know
had a good time though. That
was
fun.
fun. But I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this, so I'm just watching him.
Well,
and
neither did we. But
Jeff's sitting there, you know, playing roulette, and we just kind of started talking. And he's like, I could tell he's like, who is this guy? You know, and I'm a pretty introverted guy, and so he was trying to get me to come out of my shell, and we just all of a sudden had this connection, and it just never left. I mean, he would reach out every once in a while, and then Brinker said, he started calling me when he found out what was going on with Cindy, and he's been a huge support to me through that process because he had been through it too. Mm-hmm. Not with a spouse, but with somebody he loved probably almost equal as much, a brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, wild.
Crazy the connections.
Yeah.
That's why every day I sit in here with you guys,
mm-hmm.
every day I drive to this office, every time I fly here, I have a smile on my face because I miss these days at Sitka. They were some of the most special outside of my family of my entire life. And so I know how much I value these days, even the days we're beating our head against the wall, even the days that it's hard. It's not easy building a business, but you know what? It doesn't stress me out that much anymore. Yeah. A, because I know we're going to be successful. B, because I'm enjoying, I'm actually not that concerned with the outcome. Because I enjoy this process so much. I love the mess. I love the chaos. I love and it's just, this is the fun part.
Yeah.
And someday we're going to be like, God, do you remember when we had time to do a podcast in the conference room?
Well, and I thought, I've thought about, 5-10 years from now, and I'm like, oh my God. I like this is a vehicle to spend time with people that you cherish, because I can remember going through some tough times, and Randy Newberg was there for me. David Brinker was there for me. There were a few people in this industry that were there for me and rode by me even when it wasn't the thing to do.
Yeah.
And because they knew who I really was, and that those are then, as I grew and was able to, become more and more independent, and I was able to decide who's in my circles and who isn't. Who am I? Who went through the refiner's fire, came out the other side, and is someone that I want to grow like a business with and take chances on. Yeah. And then over the years, that's, with Brad and Lampers and myself, Livesay and you guys, and we have been able to then create a coalition of people that I feel are the type of people that I want to hang out with. And I've been in corporate gigs, and I've been in businesses where we did really well financially, but there wasn't trust in brotherhood like there is in my circles today. Yeah. And maybe it just took a long time for me to get wise enough to be aware of more careful, I suppose. Yeah. 'Cause I used to be very much like, open book. Yeah. I'm friends with everybody.
Yeah, and everybody's so different. And I will say, as we've all taken personality tests and we got to know each other like so much better on a deeper level, like I will say one thing that Lampers and I are good at, I feel, are reading people. I think my entire life, like, I've distanced myself from some and pulled myself closer to others, and it hasn't done me wrong most of the time. There's a few times, but I remember early on, like, I was doing stuff with Brian, wasn't working for him, and then we went full time, or talked about going full time, and there was some stuff going on just down the road, whatever. And I remember telling Brian on the phone, like, because I think I knew the person he was, like, deep down, and the true Brian Call. I said, dude, good, bad, ugly, I'm here. I got your back. Like, whatever you need from me, I'm here. And which I normally
so did Brinker.
Something
so did Lampers.
Yeah, and something I would never say to somebody that I don't trust. Like, I'm not going to tell that to anybody. And I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of acquaintances and stuff, but I don't have a lot of friends.
There's a reason why.
It's probably because of me. Not because of them. It's because of me.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm like, I don't have a lot of friends because I don't open up to people. I don't let myself in because I mean, even like relationships. I've been
How old are you?
36.
Yeah.
He's a pup.
It gets less as you get. I mean, I have less friends now than I did 10 years ago.
For sure.
And I like it because it's hard to, like, you just, real friends, right?
Yeah.
Like in this industry, we all have a lot of acquaintances.
For
Dude,
sure.
what's up? How you doing? How was your season? Bye.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love those people.
I do too.
Love that.
And I could call them outside and be like, hey, have a discussion
but
with
a
them.
true friend, that ride or die friend.
Yeah.
Those get fewer and far between in a good way.
Yeah.
I think.
I do too.
I have less now, and I love my friends. But like this week, I'm doing my annual golf trip with people you've never heard of that I've known since high school. And I love it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a ball. Like, and we tell the same jokes we have since we were 16 years old.
Exactly.
And it's fantastic.
Yep.
Well, there is a specialness with that too, because when you've known someone since birth, that, or high school or even elementary, it's, even though you take all these years apart, it's like you never
skipped a beat.
You never were apart at all. And there's something about that too, where they'll always kind of know you in a different way than I ever will.
100%.
Yes, for sure.
It just, that's how it goes.
Dude, they'd walk in here and be like, dude, don't have him on. Freaking loser. What are you doing?
Exactly.
He had a 1.8 GPA.
Yeah. Barely graduated.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, guys, I really enjoyed coming up here and hanging out. And I'm excited for what's coming down the pipeline, and it's a pleasure to work with men like you.
Same.
And
Back at you.
Thank you.
Back at you. Looking forward to maybe doing some adventures.
Yeah,
we do. We need to put that one on the books and just do it.
Yeah, we're doing it.
And you're gonna love it.
When we all want to go golf, I'm in, Brinker. I'm in.
Let's do it, dude.
I'm in.
You can count me out. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Stay gritty.